We love comfort food, and as we roll into fall and winter, there is nothing better than a hearty soup.
So today we're gonna make a keto version of broccoli cheese soup. Hey, what's up, family? I'm Rachel.
And I'm Joe.
And we are two crazy ketos.
Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to our kitchen. Like we said in the intro, we love hearty soups, especially as you're coming into the cooler months. And one of my favorite hearty soups is broccoli cheddar soup.
Me too. I feel like if that was ever an option at a restaurant, I would always order the broccoli cheese soup.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Now, I do want to mention down below in the description box is a link to the recipe card for our website. And there's also going to be some options which we'll talk about as we make this recipe. So let's get right into the ingredients. The first thing that we're going to need is obviously some broccoli.
Specifically florets, and while you can use fresh or frozen, we find frozen works just fine.
Honestly, to me, frozen is better. You actually, if you're looking for nutrients in your vegetables, frozen is actually the better option unless you literally pick it and then cook it, because as soon as you pick vegetables, they begin to lose any nutrients they may have. So flash frozen broccoli, the best. You're gonna need 2 to 3 cups depending on how hearty and how much broccoli you wanna have in your soup. Next, we're gonna need some cheese, obviously broccoli cheese soup. So we're gonna use some cheddar cheese. I prefer sharp. We're gonna use some mozzarella cheese. And the purpose of the mozzarella cheese is to kind of bind everything together, because cheddar sometimes can separate things.
And it's in a plastic bag because we ground this up ourselves.
Then we're gonna need some cream cheese. Other ingredients we're gonna need is some butter. We're gonna need some onion, which is kind of optional. If you don't eat onions or whatever, you can leave this out, but it does bring a nice amount of flavor to it. We're gonna need some Dijon mustard. It's another optional ingredient, but I'm gonna tell you, like, I highly recommend using the Dijon mustard. It really blends all the flavors together. We're gonna need some chicken broth or bone broth, whatever you want. You could even use beef if that's what you have, but you know, just get a good chicken broth or bone broth. We're gonna need some xanthan gum. Now, you can use tarragon, but xanthan gum is gonna be easier because tarragon is a little bit more finicky when it comes to temperatures, so I would definitely recommend xanthan gum. This is gonna thicken it up. It takes the place of using cornstarch that you're gonna find in most recipes for soups. We're gonna need some salt, some garlic powder, some pepper, which you don't have to use if you don't like pepper. And then finally, we're gonna need some milk. So we're gonna use our homemade milk. Link for the recipe is down below. Now, if you don't have any of our milk, don't worry, in the recipe card, there is an option to not use the milk, and we'll give you everything that you need for it. You ready to get into this?
Let's do it.
Now, I do wanna say this recipe is super easy to make.
How easy is it?
It is so easy, even Rachel could make it.
Yay, just in time for Thanksgiving.
So what we're gonna do is, in a saucepan, we are going to add in 2 tablespoons of butter. We're gonna let that butter begin to melt. Now, as that's melting, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in about 1/4 cup of onion. And you can add a little bit more onion, or you could take some away if you want. If you're not using onion, just go ahead and melt down the butter. And what we're gonna do is we're just going to saute these onions until they become translucent. So it should just take 2 or 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, I don't eat a lot of onions, but I gotta tell you, until I smell the combination of butter and onions, it ain't the holidays.
Yeah, because we do it in things like our stuffings, and when I'm making turkey, it's just like a really good basis to saute some of those onions in a nice butter.
Yum.
Now, while we're softening up the onions, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add in 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now, once your onions are nice and translucent and softened up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add to that 1 cup of your chicken broth or bone broth. We're gonna put in our chopped up broccoli, and I like to have a lot more broccoli in there, so I'm going with about 3 cups. It really depends on what you're looking for as far as chunkiness. I like my soup a little bit chunkier, so we go with 3 cups, but you can start off at 2 and always add some more later. And so then we're gonna go ahead and put that in there. And then we're gonna add in 2 cups of our 2KK whole milk. Now, if you don't have our whole milk made, that's okay. Down below in the recipe card, you're gonna find the substitute. The substitute is basically just gonna be some heavy cream and water. And then if you'd like to really make sure you have that milk flavor, you can add in a little bit of allulose. You don't have to add any kind of guar gum because we are gonna be adding in a thickener later. For me, it's just easier to grab the pre-made milk that we have and put it in there. But again, everything is gonna be down below in the description box if you aren't going to use a pre-made milk like we are. Now what we'll do is we'll simmer this for about 8 to 10 minutes, stirring occasionally, and we're trying to get the flavor of the broccoli to infuse with the milk and the bone broth. Now I do want to mention, if you are using frozen broccoli, it is already cooked. So at that point, you're just going to be doing this simmer for about 6 or 7 minutes. If you're using fresh broccoli, you're going to go closer to 8 to 10 minutes because you want to soften up the broccoli, but you still want it to have texture. You don't want that really ugly broccoli. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a half a teaspoon of xanthan gum. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you the whisk, and we're going to sprinkle this across the top, and you're gonna whisk it in, and then we're gonna start stirring it until it's thickened. Now xanthan gum always works better in a hot liquid like soup, so don't substitute guar gum. It isn't gonna work as well with a hot liquid. Guar gum is better for cold things like milks and ice cream. Once your xanthan gum is actually mixed in, what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch over to our spatula, and you're gonna just continually stir until it begins to coat the back of a spoon. You could also use a wooden spoon, which is probably better than a silicone spatula because you're gonna really see it to coat the back. But what we're looking to do here is thicken up our soup base a little bit. This process is gonna take about 3 to 5 minutes. So once our soup base is nice and thick, we're gonna begin to adding our cheeses. First thing we're gonna add is 3 ounces of cream cheese. You can start with 2, but I found that 3 really gives it a nice thickness. Also, what I like to do is break it up into little pieces because what we wanna do is basically melt all this cream cheese and have it thicken up our soup. So we're gonna go ahead and pour that in. And again, we're gonna keep stirring it until all of the cream cheese begins to melt. Okay, once all of our cream cheese is melted, we're gonna add in the rest of our cheeses. We're gonna add in a half a cup of shredded mozzarella and 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. Again, I prefer sharp, but you could use whatever you want. Now we're gonna go ahead and stir that and melt all of the cheese. Okay, once all of our cheese is melted, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in a teaspoon of mustard. This is an optional ingredient, but it really brings in that flavor well, so I'm gonna highly recommend it. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in some salt. I'm gonna tell you 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. You're really going salt and pepper to taste. And then we're gonna add in some pepper. We're looking at about 1/4 teaspoon of it. We'll stir this in. We'll let it simmer for like just 1 or 2 minutes. Then you can go ahead and taste it. And if you need to add more salt or pepper, go ahead and do that. Now, once you have the flavor that you're looking for, we can go ahead and turn off the heat. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this sit for about 5 minutes. It is going to thicken up as it cools. Okay, look at that cheddar cheese soup.
Nice and chunky.
Nice and chunky. Now, a couple of optional add-ins. Have it listed in the recipe card. You could actually chop up some crispy bacon, mix that in there, or sprinkle it across the top. Also, you can put in for the whole recipe about 1/2 cup of chopped cooked chicken breast.
Nice.
And if you want to bring a little bit more flavor and heat, some smoked paprika or cayenne pepper.
Yum. You wanna try it? Dink. Absolutely.
Screams fall.
Oh my gosh, it's so delicious. It's perfect. And this is something that you can make ahead and then like bring to a party because it warms up very well and it's a great take along. And most people enjoy a broccoli cheddar soup.
Yeah, now this will store well in the refrigerator, and you can also put it into some individual servings and stick it in the freezer and then warm it up whenever you're looking for it. Now, if you like seeing videos like this, take a look at the video we have linked right over there. Also, make sure you take a look at the most recent videos I'm gonna put right over here.
But whether you head this way or you head this way, don't forget to head this way. Subscribe to our channel and click the little bell icon, and that way every single time there's soup for you, you'll be alerted to it.
Until next time.
Bye.